Welcome back to Seek Strength and welcome back to Sika. Today we are doing a video on Ono Shohei. Now I'm going to call him Ono for the rest of this video in case I keep butchering his name. Ono is one of the greatest judo athletes and he is multiple international medalist, multiple Olympic gold medalist. And what we're going to do today is look through how we would use his competition calendar to write up a theoretical S&C plan from a pretty high level. Now, this isn't for Ono to come and watch and be like, damn, that's what I should have done. This is for you guys to watch so you can think about how we might plan multiple competitions throughout the year and how you might be able to think about your S&C in some context, put a little bit of specific context on your own training and use this as an example of how you might go forward and how you might learn how to balance your S&C training with your specific judo training in that competition calendar. Now, I selected 2018 because in this year he won 3 large international competitions. He won the Dusseldorf Grand Slam in 2018 on the 23rd of February. Then on the 29th of August, he won the 18th Asian Games. Then he won the Osaka Grand Slam in the 23rd of November. So I picked these 3 different competitions because it's a nice little way of looking at multiple competitions throughout the year without having an absolute jam-packed competition schedule. Now, between these 3 competitions, we've got 4 different sections of our training that we can break up into blocks and we can think about how we might approach those. Each block precedes another block and relies on the previous block, and it plays off on what we're going to do with future blocks. So all of these are interconnected, so you always need to be thinking about how will my training now affect my training in the future, and how can I use my training now to benefit my training in the future. So maybe I have to do less training in the future and more training now, or vice versa, and see how that plays off. What is the most important competition and how do I make sure that I'm in the best condition for those? So we've got 4 sections to this. We have the lead up to the first competition. Now, obviously we can't make this super complicated. We can't go back years and years. Pretend that coming into this first competition, you're in pretty good S&C shape. So you've some years of S&C experience and you're in pretty good judo shape. So when you come into this first competition onto the 23rd of February, the Dusseldorf Grand Slam, you're doing mostly judo training, you're doing mostly randori, and you're practicing a lot of your judo training coming into this competition, and you're maintaining your S&C. So we'll make the assumption that we know we've got a big year ahead of us, and we don't want to be absolutely slamming training for 12, 14 months in a row without any major break. So we assume coming into this first competition that it's not the most important competition. It's one that would be good to win, and you don't want to come in terrible shape. You're definitely training. You're definitely an active athlete, but you're not coming into this competition in the most important shape where you're absolutely peaked as much as possible. This is a competition where it's good if you win it, but it's not the end of the world if you lose it. So you quote unquote coast into this competition. You're keeping your S&C up to date, you're doing your strength training, but you're not going crazy with it. You're doing your hypertrophy work, but you're not going crazy with it. You're doing your non-sport specific conditioning, but you're not going crazy with it. So you're putting most of your resources, about 75%, into your sport specific training or into your judo rounds. So your frequency for S&C is pretty low, probably somewhere in a 3-to-1 basis, so 3 judo sessions to 1 S&C session, and then you coast along there, you maintain your strength levels, and you don't kill yourself in your judo training, you don't kill yourself in your sparring, but you keep it to a pretty decent level with the view that in the future, you know you're going to have some big training blocks ahead, and you know you're in good shape now because you've trained hard prior to this first section. So when you come into this big competition, you have this competition, you do it, you evaluate what's going on, and then that's when we get into this big block of a proper training block for the rest of the year. You've just won the Dusseldorf Grand Slam. Congratulations, I'm very happy for you. Your next competition is the 18th Asian Games. This one is the big one. This is super important for you to win. This is really important for you, your country, your financial well-being, your psychological health to win the 18th Asian Games. I hope you win it. You've got 187 days from the Dusseldorf Grand Slam to the 18th Asian Games, to the date of the competition. This translates to 27 training weeks. What we're going to do is we're going to break this down into a couple of different sections. So the first 10 weeks, we're going to go ham in the gym. We're going to go as hard as possible. We're not going to stop doing judo training. We're definitely keeping up our judo training. We're staying super active. We're doing what our coach is telling us. We're practicing our techniques. We're still sparring pretty hard. Not as hard as we can be later in training, but we're still going pretty hard. Because remember, you're a high-level athlete. You've trained quite well here and you're in good shape. So you're going to keep up your judo training, but not to that 100%. We're going to dial it back to about 75% intensity. You're not going to just go super handy every training session, but you're not killing yourself. Where you are going to start absolutely going to the max of what you're supposed to do in your program is in your S&C conditions. What we're going to try and do here in this 10 weeks is build off your previous base of S&C training, or specifically your strength training, and we're going to try and work up to a new peak of strength training, or if it's been enough before, return to your old peak in strength training with specific numbers in mind, or get as close to that as possible in these first 10 weeks. Now, what does that look like? That looks like we're going to hit a new back squat PB, or we're going to return to our old PB. We're going to aim for a new 3RM. We're going to aim for a decent heavy deadlift. We're going to aim for a new power clean. We're going to look for better muscle mass. We're going to look for a little bit of weight gain. We're also going to look for then pushing our high intensity conditioning here. So here we're not going to push our high intensity conditioning just yet. I want you to start doing a bit more steady state conditioning. So we're going to do a little bit longer intervals of this conditioning training, so low intensity steady state conditioning, zone 2 cardios might want to be referred to, where we're keeping your heart rate somewhere between 110 to 130 beats per minute, depending on how fit you are. We're going to use stationary bike. Maybe we're going to do a little bit of jogging if you enjoy that, which can be useful for judo. Maybe you're doing a little bit of rowing, and you're really pushing your strength training here. This is the big one we're looking for here. And towards the later end of this 10 weeks, we're going to transition to a different phase. But for now, we're really pushing our strength training. We are pushing our lower intensity cardiovascular conditioning work. We're maintaining our judo as best we can without absolutely interfering with the strength training sessions, but still maintaining good quality technique and good quality sparring in this first 10 weeks. Now remember, we have 27 weeks, so we're going to take this first 10 weeks and push the strength training hard. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to go to a transition phase. Judo is a very high intensity sport. It pays to be really strong in judo. You might be a freak of nature, but most of us aren't freaks of nature. And you need to make the benefits and make use of being very strong and powerful athlete. So we're going to move from our first 10 weeks. We're going to transition to the 7-week period, or approximately 7 weeks, between 6 and 7 weeks. And then we're going to start increasing the intensity and somewhat increasing the frequency of our judo sport specific training, and whatever that might be that your coach might be telling you to do. In this period, we're going to start tapering off our strength training and putting it in a place where we're maintaining our strength training as much as possible, with the view that judo is now more important for these next 17 weeks. But for this 7-week period, we're going to slowly increase the frequency and intensity of judo training, slowly decrease the intensity of our strength training, and start introducing a little bit more power specific training. So we're going to be looking at power cleans, high intensity jumping, or plyometric exercises. We're going to be looking at bounding, maybe some sprints. And then we're going to also slowly start including or introducing some high intensity training at a very low frequency. So high intensity interval training, Tabata training, hill sprints. We're going to slowly start introducing this very, very slowly, really cautiously, maybe one session a week, approximately less than 20 minutes, 30 minutes total for that whole conditioning session. Then we're going to slowly taper off that steady state conditioning. So we're going to bring it back to just some lower frequency zone 2. We're never going to drop this zone 2. So no matter what stage in our competition calendar we're in, we're never fully dropping this conditioning. We're just bringing back that low intensity steady state conditioning to about twice a week, and it'll stay here until the competition. So these 7 weeks, we're maintaining strength conditioning, slowly tapering off the frequency of those sessions. So if we were doing 4 before, we're going to move to about 3 now. It's important that we don't taper this off too quickly, because we need to maintain as much as this possible until we get close to that competition, and we need to maintain it while we're doing some of our power training. Reducing frequency and intensity of our strength training sessions, slowly increasing our intensity of our judo specific training sessions, and slowly increasing the intensity and frequency of our conditioning sessions, and then reducing the frequency but not the intensity of our steady state cardiovascular sessions. Now at the end of the 7 weeks, I want you to look for a peak in your power training. So maybe that's your full clean, maybe that's your power clean, maybe that's your power snatch, maybe that's your broad jump, whatever it is. You want to push that a little bit for those 7 weeks. And then you're moving to that last period. So about 10 weeks until competition, maybe 11 weeks if we include that competition week, and we take 6 weeks of a transition period. And then we go ham on our judo for the next 10 weeks. We taper back a lot of our strength training here to probably about 2 sessions per week. We're doing our best to maintain the big movements. We're trying to maintain our squat, or about 80% of our squat, as much as possible, with as little effort as possible, with as little sets and reps and as little volume as possible. We're going to keep in our power work, but we're going to reduce the frequencies of that to about once a week. We're going to actually keep our conditioning about the same as the transition period, so that high intensity conditioning sessions, we're going to bring those to about 2 to maybe 3 sessions per week, depending on how much time you have training. And now for these next 10 weeks, we're going to maximize our judo training. So our randori is high, we're sparring hard, we're throwing hard, we're highest frequency of judo sessions, whatever that might be for you. That might be 8 sessions per week, or it might be 3 sessions per week, depending on what level you're at and how many sessions you can train. So in this period then, we're all in on judo. We're just maintaining our strength training. We're trying to improve our conditioning a little bit. But again, priority number 1 is sport-specific training. Don't get injured from your strength training, and push your judo as much as possible. Now, assuming the Asian Games are the most important competition of the year, this is going to be our highest peak possible. So what we're going to do once we've done our competition, I hope you've won. If you did, congratulations. We're moving on then to our next competition, which for Ono was the Osaka Grand Slam. So probably a pretty important competition for him if it was on home turf. So he's got 86 days, or about 12 weeks, to do this competition. And what we're going to do here, because we've just had a massive training block, we've had 27 weeks, a massive international competition, we have to take some downtime. No matter who those athletes are, no matter if we're on PEDs or not on PEDs, no matter how well funded we are, we just have to take a little bit of downtime for a couple of weeks. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to coast with our judo training just for about 3 to 4 weeks. We're going to do very little the week after the competition. You're going to stay in the gym, but not crazy. And then for 3 to 4 weeks, we're just going to push our strength and hypertrophy, specifically our higher rep stuff. Just that kind of, for want of a better word, pump work and assistance work for the next 4 weeks. We're not going to load the body crazy. We're going to try and maintain that strength that we built in that big block before the big competition. So those first 10 weeks, we're just going to get back a little bit of that, push that strength training just a little bit for 4 weeks. So there's not a lot you can do in 4 weeks, but you can do some. We're going to drop a lot of that high intensity conditioning. We're going to keep that 4 weeks of steady state cardio going. We might increase that frequency a little bit more. And we're just going to coast a little bit with our particular judo sport specific training. So that gives us 12 weeks. That's 4 weeks of that gone, where we're coasting on our judo. We're trying to improve that strength a little bit. We're trying to build a bit more mass, some higher rep assistance work. We're trying to up a little bit of that steady state cardio. Then we've got 8 weeks. So we're probably in very good shape now. We've had a bit of downtime. And then we're going to do it again. We're just going to maintain that strength training, and we're going to go absolutely ham on judo for the next 8 weeks. Push it as hard as possible. We're going to win the Osaka Grand Slam. And that's your year. That's a full year of training done. So the specifics of obviously sessions are something that we can't go into today. But if you do need to up your own strength conditioning training, check out the Sika Strength app on iOS and Android. There's a combat sports specific program there. It's 4 sessions per week, but you can bring it back to 2 sessions per week. So you run 1 week over the course of 2 weeks. So you do 2 weeks, day 1 and day 2 on the first week, and then you do day 3 and day 4 on the second week. Lots of different combat sports athletes have run it. There will be more judo specific programs coming in the future because a lot of people have asked for that. But there's also lots of power clean programs, squatting programs, deadlift programming, pressing programs on the app. Check it out on Sika Strength, iOS and Android. It'll be in the link down below. If you have any questions, do let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it gives you a bit more of an insight on how you need to plan your year as a judo athlete, as you need to be strong. You need to be powerful for judo. You can't let it go like other sports. Like if we're in jiu-jitsu, for example, we can coast for a lot of the year. We can try and improve slowly, but our standards for judo are higher, because if you want to be as good as possible, if you want to maximize that, especially the higher level that you are, we want to be stronger without changing our weight class. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please let me know if you have any judo specific questions for S&C in the comments below, and I would love to make a full video on those. So any questions, no matter how dumb or how simple you think it is, if you have an S&C question for judo, please leave it in the comments below. We love to see those, so do leave it below, and I hope you enjoyed today's video.